Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is Mayan Speedplay number 19. We left off having just defeated all of our enemies in a series of wars, which have basically seen us as the only power in North America. We also have Cuba now, and pretty much just a lot of territory. The only areas we really have to worry about now are in South America and all of our colonial areas abroad, which we're going to set up hopefully after this. We just have a bit of an issue with estates. Luckily, our nobility seizing power had been defeated pretty quickly. There are probably going to be quite a few revolts in the near future, seeing as we did just incorporate a completely massive amount of territory of different religions and cultures than our own state. So yeah, we're probably going to be facing a bit of rebellion just throughout this episode, and that's probably going to be just the general flavor of events. We are coring quite a few territories, as you can see, which has brought our amount of admin points down to basically nothing. Luckily, our ruler is just ridiculously good, something like 554. His heir, though, is 114, which is why we have our heir as a general. And hopefully they will die fighting all of our rebels at some point, which would be rather convenient just from a leadership standpoint. We do also have a regular general, though, who is better, so we're not really putting him into too much. We deal with trade and attempt to just make a little bit more profits. Hopefully that will all work out at least decently well. And we are finally coring all of the territories we have acquired in the last war. We do go ahead and just mess around with getting new advisors, hopefully for relatively cheap, since we are probably the greatest economy in the world right now. So it's definitely worthwhile to just get decent or pretty good advisors in an attempt to get enough admin, diplo, and military points that we'll be able to actually catch up with the Europeans and hopefully fill out idea groups and all of that good stuff. We do still have some troops up in Iceland who we send our ships up to go pick up, and we are going to have to hire more soldiers as our armies are going to be attritioning away with some rather worrying speed just due to the sheer number of rebellions we're almost certainly going to face and have been facing. However, that doesn't mean that we cannot expand as well, and in fact I would feel rather remiss if we didn't expand during this opportunity or period of opportunity, however you want to call it. So we are going to, first of all, send a decent amount of our forces to deal with the rebels. That's just something we can't avoid. And we do have to go about the process of hiring a new advisor, which we do manage to work out fairly well. And a different rebellion had popped up than the one that I was prepared for. Luckily, we have enough transports that we can carry a large enough army to deal with them all to the places that they need to go. Now, the very nature of that is probably going to change the size of our transport fleets. You'll notice we have abandoned just having 2 12 stacks of transports in either sea, and now we're just transporting our entire military in a single clump, well, except for the bit in South America. So we are transferring a massive amount of troops. We do lose that battle anyway, despite all the mercenaries and just the complete number of soldiers we have. We do get another mercenary infantry group, and the idea is generally just, since we're going to be fighting so many battles and taking so many casualties, we may as well just constantly be consolidating our infantry groups and then just cycling them out with mercenaries. So it's kind of a bloody and brutal system of affairs, but we don't really have the most manpower, and we do have quite a bit of money. So it is just kind of the natural state of things. And at any rate, it does appear to be going at least decently well. We do have a just ridiculously large amount of artillery, although I don't want to get rid of it since we will need it as we upgrade the size of our army in general. And with that all said and done, most of the rebellions have been taken care of. Luckily, they did run into a fort over here in Texas, which did slow them down somewhat. And with all that said and done, hopefully we can go back to expanding. It might be a little risky to send these troops down to South America, but we are going to do it anyway. We do go ahead and just march this army into our enemies. We probably could have done that before, although I didn't want to risk it while all those rebellions were going on up in the north. It doesn't look as though we're really facing any issues, and they are actually in the midst of a independence war against Castile, so we don't even have to worry about the shattered remains of the Castilian Empire stopping us from doing this. Now, we didn't call in Brazil because I didn't want them to come in and steal all of these lands. Their army seems to indicate, however, that they are coming in their own separate war anyway. Which, honestly, I can't blame the Brazilians for. We're doing the exact same thing. Now, the main goal is just for us to try to steal as many territories as we can before our very good Brazilian allies manage to come in and take really anything at all for themselves. It looks like they'll get 2 provinces, but that doesn't really matter all that much, and we will get the vast majority. And besides, Brazil is a worthwhile ally. Their territories aren't really worth all that much, and it looks as though we can get just the overwhelming majority of La Plata. We'll go ahead and core all of that, which we can actually do, and that's pretty nice. We do go ahead and fight another group of rebellions, and hopefully we'll be able to just take care of all of these issues without really getting too deeply into civil unrest. Now, at this point, rather obviously, I don't think we're really threatened anymore by any of the major European powers. We've completely kicked them out of North America. South America, we're going to build 30 new transports to have enough transports for both of our armies, really. And from there, probably start taking the fight to the imperial powers, probably with the Iberian powers, since they're all dead, and the situation in Europe is just kind of crazy. At any rate, though, since the Iberian powers are all just kind of dead or on islands, they will make a decent first target. We'll go ahead and just fill our armies up onto these boats, and admittedly probably spend the next little while just convincing our people not to rebel again. We are still facing issues with semi-constant rebellions in all of the territories we've gained in the last few wars. I'm not sure how long it will take us to actually get them to a point where they will stop rebelling. However, the fact that they are wrong religion and wrong culture probably doesn't help in that regard. We do also make a colonial bridge between our sections of South America, and in general, just try to keep the country together for the moment. We are going to ship these armies over to South Africa. These armies are going to stay more or less in position. There is a rebellion breaking out right at the moment, so it was a good idea to keep that stacked down south. You'll notice the transports are flooding over, so we will be able to transport them by sea in the future. So overall, all things considered, we aren't doing poorly. I mean, we've basically completed the main objective of the campaign, which is to kick the Europeans out in general. The British still do exist, and we are dealing with a lot of rebellions. Although once all these rebellions do calm down, we really will have the ability to just project our force essentially wherever we would like to. Now, I'm not going to get so cocky with that just yet, as we are still in the preparatory stages of that sort of thing. Although it does look as though we will be able to declare war on Portugal. This is the first war that we have declared against an actual European power. Every other time before this, they have declared the wars first. Admittedly, they're kind of not really an European power anymore since they got kicked off the continent. But we'll just still say that that counts, at least for our purposes. The first war we've declared on a state that was in Europe at some point and is European cultured and whatnot. At any rate, it's a landmark moment. You'll notice a lot of things are going on, nothing too very important, just transferring our forces around and dealing with just other things of that sort. We do start landing on these Portuguese islands, and we're probably going to just take our armies entirely with us. The army that we had in South America we may bring up into North America to deal with rebellions up north. At any rate, though, we could just start increasing autonomy in various places, which we may end up doing, just as a way to prevent us from having to send our armies just all over the place, as that is rather inconvenient. And it isn't really like we need the income of 1 or 2 provinces at 75% autonomy anyway. What we could probably do better is manage our states in a more sensible way. At any rate, though, we could probably also just finish annexing the Portuguese right now, seeing as they are just a bunch of islands in South Africa. It looks as though we can even get them to revoke all their cores and other things that they still have just in the old remains of their empire, and we do have to deal with the states a bit, and hopefully we will manage to make them not hate us, and we do have to lower the amount of territory they control. Overall, though, it's all going fairly well, and it looks like the Portuguese will accept our demands. Their army became rebellions, and we defeated them pretty much instantly, so that's all good. And now, with that all said and done, we do go ahead and increase autonomy in a few places just to prevent revolts from breaking out. We can obviously deal with all of the revolts as they come, not that I would really like to do that if we have any other option. At this point, it looks like Haiti will be a good next target, simply because it will really just help us clean up that whole area and then get us the Caribbean trade more under lock and key. We may have to go into Iberia to really finish that off, though, as a lot of trade power is just getting siphoned into Europe, despite the fact that they won't have any territories in the region once we finally take over Haiti, and Haiti is independent itself. So who's really to say why that makes very much sense, and we do go ahead and start taking a look at various places we can turn into states now that we have a bit of a cushion of admin power. It doesn't really look like there are very many great options, and we do go ahead and take a mission to colonize into the Philippines, which we should probably do since we have more or less sealed off North and South America as much as possible. There is still a little bit more that we can do, and I do want to keep filling in the continents, although now it doesn't really take very much priority compared to places in Southeast Asia or what have you. One concern that does exist is there isn't really any benefit to colonizing trade company regions above places in North and South America, since they do keep the indigenous religion and culture. That being said, you'll notice a lot of trade power is funneling off to the Europeans, which is the problem I was mentioning a little bit earlier. We can still declare the war, though, fairly soon and just take all the territories and hopefully get our mercantilism up enough to really cut down on that. We could also go back into China, although recent memories of that last campaign do not really make me want to do that whatsoever. And there are probably just more worthwhile targets to face. We do go ahead and switch up our advisors a little bit just to try to maintain as best we can. We could go ahead and get a new idea group, but we don't at this moment. And hopefully we will be able to declare war on the Haitians relatively soon. We do have a truce with them, though, and rebellions are threatening to spark up just throughout the empire, which is a little bit worrying and does slow me down. We could potentially vassalize Castile in a war in the near future, which would then give us a lot of cores to go retake for them in Iberia to really just deal with this whole trade issue from the European side of it. That being said, our truce with Haiti has just ended, so we may as well go ahead and just fabricate a claim on their capital, charge our army right on in, split sieging forces throughout their countryside, destroy their army, and just like that, we've essentially won the war. Now, those of you who watched an episode and two behind know just how much better that went than our last war against the Haitians, and I am just entirely happy that we got such a difference in just in kind for that war. We go ahead and take all 4 of their provinces, that is all they own in the world. We begin coring, and now that army is free to go really anywhere at once in the world, probably over to the Castilians to just take over Iberia, really, or get us a reason to take over Iberia, I should say. That being said, we do go ahead and build an additional 10 heavy ships, just because we probably should get that, just to be safe that our navy will not be destroyed. We also send our colonizing forces over down. We will try to cut off South America. Now, we could declare war on the British, but they are allied to Austria, so British Brazil is probably going to keep just existing for a little while, and the regular Brazilians won't help us in that war. So there's really no reason for us to antagonize the British right now, which is the only reason I would consider not attacking Castile, is to attack the British instead and really help shore up our control over South America. That being said, that'll probably have to wait for a while. We do go ahead and just defeat that native army, which will help clean up the area. And the Castilians could be attacked at pretty much any moment. They don't really have any allies or anything really concerning us, although at this point it would kind of push us beyond a decent time frame if we were to declare war on them this episode. So we're just going to save that for the next one, just for convenience sake. We will also just try to peace out with these guys, go ahead and annex them, destroy their army, and now that we're not at war, we can ally Kong, which is the massive sub-Saharan African state. Hopefully they will want something from the Spanish, or maybe just to ally us with the promises of vaguely getting them territory. They do accept our alliance. We are, by the way, green in technology, which is great. The Chinese aren't that bad, which is kind of terrible. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will be back tomorrow with more.